the original dark.
Thank you. Absolutely.
Like that. And this is Barbados and Jamaica.
Absolutely.
Right? Yeah.
So you'll see this one. You can see where the aging is going to give you these spice notes, is going to give you, you know, elements also of vanilla.
Yeah, and chocolate.
Slight coconuts. Chocolates also, that comes from the origin, the origin, you know, and here, the blend here is mainly Barbados with some hints of Jamaica. You got some of these exotic fruit notes, like dry, you know,
like
pineapples and mango and so on.
And also these, what you call them, sweet spices like cinnamon.
Absolutely right. Absolutely right.
I mean, and for how long is this aged?
Also, this one, you know, is a blend of different age. So 3 years, you know, some of it, and then I have a little hints of 10 or 12 years depending on the blend when we make it that year, because remember, the idea is to deliver these beautiful rums, and I got some quite old Jamaican rums that are going to add these fruit notes that we discussed about.
Beautiful. We have a question here from Ann-Katrin. She asks, what kind of glass should we use, and what temperature should the rum be served in?
This is great questions, by the way. Temperature with rum, I was going to say room temperature, but if you're in the Caribbean, or if you are, you know, depending on the country, room temperature is different. But think about room temperature as we think about it in Europe is beautiful for rum. Now, if you are sipping, Now, for cocktails you use ice. Also, certain rums I like on an ice cube as well, like for typically when we're going to taste, for example, the Jamaica Special Dry is beautiful on a big ice cube. So if you're sipping, room temperature. Sometimes people warm too much in their hands like this. You know, it's the same like a brandy.
People do with the brandy cognac,
It would be too much. So you get the more aggressive flavors. I think a simple way is beautiful.
I think so. Also, the alcohol gets too aggressive when you warm it up.
You're absolutely right. So really, room temperature is perfect. For the glass, so I'm a master blender. We each choose a glass for life, you know, kind of thing. That's my glass, the tulip-shaped glass. I love it. I love it to taste a lot of things because it's a standard. But you can, if you're sipping, any sipping glass, if there's whiskey drinkers, the Glencairn would work beautifully, for example. Any tulip-shaped glass would work beautifully as a sipping glass. If you use with an ice cube, a rock glass is wonderful. If you just drink the rum and ice, I would not do crushed ice. It would dilute it too much. Ideally, a big ice cube. Big ice cube, absolutely. A little secret I'll give you. If you make your ice, something I've learned from my grandmother, you know, make sure the ice is made with very non-heavy water. You don't want, you know, a hard water. No. So either distilled water, I know I'm being demanding here, or osmosis filtration water, because, you know, with spirits, we forget this. It's true with whiskeys, by the way. If you use a mineral water, it will fight your spirit. So, you know, really something, I promise you, really works. So even in an ice cube. So if you make your ice, you know, if you want to do it perfectly, that's what it is.
Cool. Good tip. But here also let's talk about the thing, the very unique thing with Plantation, that you do this double aging, and you actually take the rums back to France and cognac.
Absolutely, you know.
And you have two. I mean, you have two, there's two things there. One, that you're actually finishing them in the cognac barrels, but also the transportation.
Absolutely, absolutely. You know, I like to say that in rum, rum is an art that started, we know for sure, 1650. And the Shakespeares of rum, the geniuses of rum, some of them are still unknown. And we do, with my team in Barbados, we do a lot of research in old archives about rum making. And as we discover, we become better at what we do. One of the tradition of rum in the old days, it was first fermented, distilled, produced, aged in the first step in the Caribbean, then shipped to Europe inside its own barrel. Now that's not a little detail. Imagine that rum that is put in a barrel, and with the movement of the sea and the humidity and so on, because a rum is a distilled product. It's not like a wine. The heat applied to a rum inside a barrel, it is not a problem because it's distilled. It's not a fruit anymore like a wine is fruit juice, you know, fermented. So with the heat and the movement on the barrel, you're going to have the rum expand and retract into the wood with a very, very important interaction between wood and barrel and the humidity that's going to refine the rum. That's actually technically called dynamic aging. What happens with the barrels moving like that, crazy. Sort of, a faster, intense refining of the rum. And then when they arrive in France, because nowadays 99.9% of rums are aged in bourbon, ex-bourbon barrels, you know, American bourbon barrels. But in the old days, people used different style of barrels. And I wanted to reconnect with that tradition. Not just bourbon barrels, but also we are cognac producers, use cognac barrels. And for the people who really want to experience also other things we discussed earlier, we have something called the single cask collection. And we try, you know, we use wine barrels like in the old days and so on. So if you seek them out, you'll see this is a golden time of rum where people use this specific barrel. So that's the double aging of Plantation. First produced, aged, of course, first in country of origin, shipped within the barrel. Rum was, the distillery, West Indies Rum Distillery has been doing this since 1893, and then aged further in our cognac barrels. That's called the double aging.
Yeah, that's super interesting. I mean, how and what does the cognac barrels, what do they bring to the finished product?
So that's two things. First of all, the bourbon barrels are, you know, they are made of American oak. And actually this implies also for wine. If somebody uses American oak, the American oak has a higher amount of flavor for like sweet vanilla, sweet vanillin, and also what we call whiskey lactone. Whiskey lactone tastes like coconuts. So works well with rum, by the way. But then when you use a cognac barrel, it's a French oak. French oak gives you spice notes, structure. So think about kind of the flesh and the bone structuring. Same for wine, you know, these two type of woods would bring these type of flavors. Now a bourbon barrel has a little bit of bourbon stuck away into the wood, and a cognac barrel with a little bit of cognac also tucked into the wood, 1–2% makes it back. So these elements, you know, are part of using these used barrels.